Hello, everyone. Welcome to Heartlines. This is our space where we discuss everything relationship and love. And tonight on the show, I have a full house. I have Sajo with us. Sajo, how are you doing?
I'm good. And you?
I did, you know.
Uh-uh.
I'm loyal to you.
Joe, I like this your outfit.
Ah, ah.
Your loyalty is not in question.
Hey, you know now. You know. Then I have Shay with me. Shay lays on me, and I have Precious. So I have a full house today. Shay Alpha, you were ill. You were low for a while.
I
How are
was
you?
stressed.
Really? But how are you now?
Very
Okay.
well.
Precious, how far now? How Port Harcourt?
No,
Backward.
Nah, nah.
that was as in we don't even know what to say right now, but we just hope that things will change for the better.
But I hope it's not so bad though.
Oh no, there's movement, there's freedom of movement, so it's not as bad as it sounds,
Okay.
over
All
the
the
years. Yeah.
military troops and the rest of them, they're not disturbing anybody, I guess.
No, they are just at strategic junctions that probably might be volatile if they were not there. So we've been going about our usual daily activities with ease. The markets are open, the shops are open, the banks are open. And of course, the joints are all open in the night for people that want to jai.
Okay, that works. That's fine.
Yeah.
Okay, so tonight on the show, today is Friday, so we just want to calm, just discuss something. Everybody just relaxed and calm, laugh, and everybody goes home to go and sleep and maruse their husband or maruse your wife, whole body to your girlfriend. If you get side chick, Sajo. If you get side chick, if you get main chick, I'm not calling anybody Papa name. Oh. Sheyi, why are you laughing? So we're discussing domestic violence and is it a cause, is it when people endure domestic violence, is it Durex or denial? Are people actually in denial when it comes to domestic violence, or it's just Durex, you know? Sajo, domestic violence.
Big girl choker.
Sajo, you the verse. Sajo, we can't hear you.
Was that question to me? I didn't hear any question. You just said Sir Joe,
Oh no,
and
I
I
already
smiled
asked. I
back
said,
at you.
Sajo, domestic violence. Your thought on domestic violence? Is it Durex? Is it out of Durex? Why do people tolerate it? Is it out of Durex or denial?
Denial, duress. I don't. I don't think it's either of that. I think it is um, the enduring domestic violence must be informed by putting your odds, putting your options, and then choosing violence over peace. Because there's no other way to explain how you would stay in a relationship or a marriage where you're battered every other day. So for me, I think those who are enduring domestic violence, male or female, would have weighed their options and they elected that they are better off being battered than being with other relationships. So it's a choice thing.
Okay. Precious.
Well,
Don't you think people are living in denial when it comes to domestic violence? Domestic violence.
yes, people are living in denial because they don't, when I say they don't understand the extent to which domestic violence actually takes place. So there are some things people tend to sweep under the rug. In their mind, a slap is not domestic violence. A push is not domestic violence. They think it has to be like you almost murdered somebody before they start to say it's domestic violence. But we're saying that um, as long as that thing that you're doing is actively harming the next person that you're actually living together with them, that's domestic violence.
Okay. Shay, Durex.
Um, like Sajo said, I don't think anybody is under duress to endure domestic violence. But I think there's a bit of denial in it, which is in some cases you find out that even the abused is making excuses for the abuser. Saying like I was the one that caused it. And look, I also feel like domestic violence, both abuser and if there's any word like abusee, it's a cycle. I feel like along the line, maybe in their childhood, growing up, it's either you're dealing with big self-esteem issues, where you feel, in that relationship you are being abused is where you feel the most secure. Or, your parents have also been involved in that cycle, something that you saw growing up that has become your own normal and your own reality.
Okay.
So, like Sajo said, it's a choice, but it's also, a lot of people also live in denial of domestic abuse. Like they don't even know when they're being abused. They don't know. They don't even think it's an abuse.
Okay.
Most times it's people outside that see the abuse. People inside or involved, most times, don't even see. They don't even know that they are being abused. So, which is, I think, a form of denial.
Okay, so but wouldn't you say that when people make choice, when people decide to stay because of their children, it's not because they're under duress?
It's a choice. It's not.
Yeah. So, but there's something that's making them make that decision. There's something that's informing. There's something making them say, you know what? At this point, I cannot do what I want to do right now, because they're weighing their options. This is way pressing. He's paying school fees. He's not beating me. He just throwing words at me. I'm just asking. So, and then there's some people who are also saying, "Now talk it, they talk. You don't turn to soap. I take out the bath." So they're saying it doesn't affect them, or they are believing or telling themselves a lie that is not affecting them in any way, not knowing that it's affecting them somehow. You don't think that's possible?
It's very possible.
Okay.
For most people, domestic violence is always physical.
Okay.
So usually, when it's not physical, when it's emotional, when it's words being spoken, I think majority of people don't even realize what's being done. You don't realize the effect it's having. Is until you see physical bruise, that's when you shout that, they beat me, or see blood from my body. But the emotional one, I even feel is worse.
It's worse, yes. I think it's worse as well. Okay, so let's quickly go on the break. When we come back, we'll begin to dissect this whole domestic violence issue.
Heartlines would be right back.
This season on Heartlines, we're committed to making a difference in people's lives. So Heartlines, in partnership with Reda Consult, is offering 12 free slots of counseling every quarter for people in need of professional counseling. Additionally, we're taking on 2 pro bono cases for individuals navigating a challenging divorce. To participate, please send an email to counsel@vedaconsult.com with your story. Our team will carefully review all submissions and will contact all the shortlisted candidates. Heartlines is live Mondays to Fridays at 10 p.m. So engage with us.
Thanks for staying with us on Heartlines.
Okay, welcome. Please note that you can send us a message on our WhatsApp number 08190384663 or call in to join in our conversation on 07025007749 or 07014242420. And please subscribe to our YouTube channel at Official Upgrade TV. Yes, you can watch us on DSTV, Go TV, and Star Times. On Go TV 145, that's R2 TV. On DSTV, Plus TV 408, and on Star Times 308. Okay, Precious, please, can you please break down what, in your own terms, what you think domestic violence is? The different kinds of domestic violence, so people understand when we say domestic violence, it's not just when they are blowing you or something, because I know there are different kinds of domestic violence.
Yeah, so domestic violence, let's start. We say any abusive behavior that one individual, uses over another individual. So the abusive behavior can be physical, it can be using words, it can be through neglect, it can be, so these are like the forms that it can come in. Most times, like we've already established, it's not just about the beatings. Sometimes it can be withholding certain things from individuals that are suffering from the domestic violence. So there's sexual domestic violence also. We have the psychological, which is the mental and the emotional state. Sometimes, okay, so every now and then, in Nigeria, it's not so common, but stalking, we see it mostly, stalkers, so you go and report and they put a restraining order against the stalker in other countries. But even stalking is a form of domestic violence, because if you're being stalked, you can't have a free life. So any abusive behavior in which one person, gains an upper hand over another person is domestic violence.
Okay, makes sense. Sajo, do you think, she's mentioned something about when you're being deprived of sex is a form of domestic violence. Sajo, your thoughts, please.
I was also going to add financial abuse as part of domestic violence.
Okay.
Yeah.
Psycho-emotional, restrictive acts, and then that would form part of this sex denial.
Okay.
I think it is domestic violence, and it is a skill that has been developed over time by a gender type, and they use that as negotiation tool.
Sajo, please come straight.
Sajo.
Don't cut corners.
An attempt to win battles that they should not even start fighting in the first place. So yes, I agree with you that sex deprivation
is a form of
is manipulative, is abusive, and therefore qualifies as domestic violence.
Okay. Okay, so please, this sex abuse, this deprivation. Why you laugh? We go fight just now for this studio. this sex denial, please, Abina, sex starving or whatever. Is it just by one gender? Sajo, please.
It is one gender that has over time used it as tools, but we cannot say it is one gender, because we also know that there are male, female, and female, male in marriages. It would be very unfair to compartmentalize sex in marriage. It's okay, this is a male, and therefore he has all the attributes of a male. There are some men in the marriage that are female, and there are some women in the marriage that are male, attribute-wise. So I agree that it could be either way, but there is a particular gender that has, over time, used it as tools.
So what gender is that?
It would be fair. It would be fair to give them their flowers.
What gender is that?
Your gender.
I don't get gender.
What?
Oh, the last time I checked, you have not
switched.
Transmutate or transit to any other gender.
Okay, so I like what you just said about in relationship. It's not about the real male and female. In every relationship, there's a male and there's a female gender, because I have seen situations where the man is the woman. He's the one who is throwing tantrums. He's the one who is
Who's
nagging.
moody.
He's the one who is moody. He's the one who is depriving the wife of sex. You know. So, and you begin to ask yourself, I been a man, I been a woman, be this.
Very true.
So
very true.
yeah, so I've seen such cases. So Sir Joe, again, back to you, because are you you won't bring out one side of me today when I'm not too like. So the financial part, because I don't want to make it
It's
a
Friday.
so it's okay for me to get upset and fight, right?
Yeah, you are dressed for it already.
So, but Sir Joe, the truth is, you find out that in relationships, I try not to make it a gender thing. Because when you hear people complain, you'll be like, your husband, they do this. You understand? And then, because we really do not have the exact statistics in this part of the world, you know, there are some women, you know, also I don't even want to say the middle class. The really like struggling class, you understand? You find out that it is the women who actually even do more at home than the men. Those people in the real rural areas, the women hustle more than the men. You know, in fact, there's a case right now that I'm dealing with that the lady is the one who does everything. Fine, the guy lost his job like a while ago, but she was been trying and trying. But you see, this egoistic thing of men, he still wants to.
They are taking light in Wicked City.
Joe.
Oh God, Precious Pele, we understand. It's Fubara. So you know, so you find out that there are people who they can't even come out. You can't even assess them. You know, the women are the ones doing everything, and the men still want to. In fact, the lady was telling me that she goes to the market very early in the morning after like bathing her child and cooking and putting it in the fridge or something. She comes back by 7. And then she has to cook
for the guy.
And then, in fact, there was a particular incident where when she now finished cooking, I went to give the man food. And the man started shouting, "Come on, take this food out of here. Look at the time that you're giving me food." And you know, this lady goes to the market. She pays school fees. She brings part of the rent, if not all of the rent. You know, and the man does not see that he's abusing the wife. In fact, he's complaining that the wife is of no use, blah, 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 blah. So the wife now has moved out of the house. The wife wanted to move out, and he said that, where is she going to? Who said she should go? That is not something that they can discuss. That why is she now leaving? That these things happen, and they should just discuss that. If it's something that he has to apologize, maybe he will just apologize and everything will settle. Manipulation.
Wonderful.
I'm telling you. So, as much as we want to say that, you know, women, Sergio, I think that every gender suffers this thing. I think it's a 50-50.
Nobody said women.
No, I said, you say a particular gender is a 50-50. That's my point, because we really do not have...
it is not 50-50. And you know it is not 50-50.
I don't know.
You know, I agree with you, Sergio.
You know why it's obvious? You know why it's obvious that you know it's not 50-50? Because from your opening statement, you said, "Oh, your husband did do that kind of thing." That means that you attribute such conduct to a particular gender, and you were shocked that a man could exhibit such acts.
I agree with you, but I'm saying, but because we don't have the right statistics, that's why we're saying, oh, we don't know that men are supposed to do these things. There are people who are doing certain things. That's my point. So we're saying we do not have the right statistics.
I was just going to address that issue of the woman doing more than providing more, taking care of the home front. And this is not to be taken seriously. Let's just crack through this. In our most animalistic states, the man is a king who should be provided for. And that is how all animals relate. That's why you see that it is the lioness that goes hunting
and brings food
while the lion is sleeping. The man's primary duty, or the husband's primary duty, is to protect the home front in times of war and battles. So if we do not evolve and move a little higher than basic animal states, and that is not entirely wrong. That is how God created things to be, that you are to hunt. Even the Bible said that, I think it's somewhere in Isaiah, that at the end time, or the later days, is it 7 or 17, will run after a man and said,
Yes, come
I
and be
would
our.
take care of my needs, I will take care of my children, just let me be called by your name or something.
That's true.
I'm not sure exactly, but it's just it's just emphasizing the fact that men ought to be taken care of as kings,
Yes, we are the
while
prize.
the woman should work and bring bring all the proceeds home.
Thank you, Sergio, for this
Why
wisdom.
So what I get from everything you have said is that
Shay,
the men are just
Shay,
animals.
Yes.
Shay, you should keep a safe distance from
I'm
Franca
telling you.
if it strikes me this evening.
She don't use I carry me, knock me for ground.
What I just got from what you said is that 80% of the men haven't evolved, so they remain
You
animals.
seem to have frozen.
Me? It can't be me that's frozen. Because you're refusing to hear what I said. What I got from what you just said are men, 80% of the men out there are animals. They haven't evolved, do you understand? So they are still the way they were created. They haven't done anything on themselves or haven't tried to develop themselves. So they are still animals. So it's okay if that's what you mean.
His first statement was, let's crack through this.
That's what I said. Let's crack. Well, cracking.
Okay.
So that means 80% of the men are still animals from what I got. That's why they're still kings and waiting for the woman to go and hunt and come back to them.
So, like I always say, at the end of the day, right, if you take ego from a man, if you take that thing that makes him feel like a king from a man,
It's
then
worthless.
exactly, you've stripped him of his dignity and everything. So even though there are some things he might be doing that is wrong, there should still be a form of ego in every man. A man should still be able to, and this is me just playing devil's advocate, right? Should still be able to do shakara, even though he knows it's wrong.
So this is
Sometimes.
not shakara here. The woman goes, but like, guess what? You see the shakara.
He's begging already.
No, but wait.
But he's begging already.
But
saying,
exactly. So
he's
you see that's what I'm saying. You see the
"Babe,
shakara
you
when
sure
they
say you
shout.
won't go?"
No, but you see the shakara when they talk. We say they men. That make me say they don't get sense. At the end of the day, now you see she bring food for you. She cook. She bring food for you, and you tell her, "Is it the time you should be bringing food?" And she not follow you talk again. Now she's moving out of the house.
They start begging.
And they say, must
Until
you
you
go? Why
begin
don't
roll
we
for
talk?
four.
But you guess what? She has left you in your kingdom. So go and hunt for yourself. Shoto. Pride. Ego.
That's why he's calling her. But is it until he rolls on the floor? Is that what she wants? To strip him of his ego?
That's what you. Thank God you said
To
that.
strip him of
Thank God you
his
said that.
manly pride?
So thank God you are still the one on this show that said some stupid men. You said in your own words that some stupid men. In fact, I'll tell them to play back that video. You said some stupid men think that role is just for
I
the.
didn't use the word stupid.
What
I
did you
said
use?
silly.
Silly.
Silly. I didn't
It
use the
starts
word
with
stupid.
S. So I just used the S for stupid. But anyway, that's fine. So my point is, what we're saying is a lot of people go through these things and we don't have the right statistics for this. So, but again, as much as there are women who go through these things, be in relationship, you understand, denial or whatever, men also go through this thing.
Oh yes. Oh yes.
You know, it's the big men that we hear about and all that. But the question I want to ask now, Precious, do people actually come to you and say that as a counselor? Do people actually come to you to say, oh, I'm going through all this, but I think it's my best option? Or I'm going through this because I am not able, do you have those kind of issues where people come and say, I have to be here because of this, even when they know that it's wrong?
It happens most times with the female gender. So they're like, sometimes it's even a simple matter of where do I go to if I leave his house?
Okay.
I don't have anywhere to go to. My parents will not accept me. And I had a client who was suffering from domestic violence, and it was her mother that kept taking her back to the man's house. And the mother was like, me, I'm in my own husband's house. I did not leave. So you will not be the person who will leave your husband and come back to your father's house. It was
Okay.
her dad who helped her to leave that marriage.
Oh,
So
really?
sometimes women can give themselves reasons. And I usually don't blame them, because in their heart of heart, is a very good reason, especially when they start having kids. If there are no kids involved, it's even a little bit easier. And if the woman has something she's doing, she can just relocate, leave the town. As long as she's not in the same town where people knew her as a married woman, fine. So, but once she begins to give herself excuses, it takes a whole lot to make her understand that her safety is first and every other thing comes second.
Okay.
So yes, they give themselves excuses why they need to stay, for the kids, for the society, for parents,
So
and
why do the
sometimes even
men?
as much as their job.
Okay. So why do the men stay?
Ego, number one. So for some men, I think it would be maybe, oh, you're not a man, you couldn't handle a woman, you couldn't keep your house. The man is the head of the home, so he's the officer in charge, commander in chief, and it's assumed that a man should be able to, I want to use the word control, but not in a bad way, should be able to control his woman.
Okay. So
And
that means the man
once
is
the
actually living in denial as well.
man is living
Because
in denial,
yeah, because he's not able to control the wife. The wife they beat him.
I don't see one like that, where not only is the wife beating, but when she beats, they call her brothers and sisters.
I love that woman.
Help her beat the bad.
You see what we are talking about. Sajo, you don't see? You don't see?
Sajo is not here to
Sajo
fight for
is
you.
shocked.
Sajo is
Can you
Sajo
imagine?
is
I used to have a teacher in primary school that not only was the woman
I
beating
am
him,
particularly worried.
Worried about.
I'm particularly worried that, and this is consistent with that gender. Everything you condemn when done to you, you
you
approve or
applaud it.
accept when it's done to the other
Yes.
person.
Yes.
It is if it's wrong, it should be universally wrong. If we say domestic violence is wrong, then let's say it's wrong. But over time, as a matter of fact, the gravest injustice about domestic violence is that we have termed it violence against women.
Mm-hmm.
It's only in recent time that we're beginning to expand it to include the acts suffered by men. And like Delicious was saying earlier, it is not because of ego that is making that man not leave the home. The truth is that a lot of men do not even recognize domestic violence until it has taken a very dangerous toll on them. The financial part of the financial abuse, for instance, you earn ₦1 million, your husband earns 500,000, and then you would drag all of that 500,000 until it's finished while you are saving yours. The mentality that your own, our own, my own and my own, is a very serious financial abuse. And then when you want to discuss that in some public space, you are seen as, what is this man talking about? That is your duty, that's your responsibility to provide for your home. So why should you complain, even when the woman is earning more than you're earning? Then you move further. If, for instance, I and Shay were friends, and I walked up to Shay and said, "Oh, man, My wife just beat me up this evening. The first thing that she will laugh. She will boss, how you will talk like I see. Then if she is able to understand the seriousness of my complaints, she will say, you know what, bro, meet me for so place. Let's have a drink. We could have that drink, and I'll go back to my problem. And he goes to his wife and is happy. But women will form a fortress. They'll form a support system around their fellow woman who has been abused, whereas a man is always alone and by himself to deal with those pain and hurts. So most time men want to internalize it because it's a thing of shame, embarrassment, and then at the end of the day, even with the shame and embarrassment, you still will not get any support or results from complaining. And that is why we always have those male-related obituaries than female-related obituaries.
Yes. And I also feel like, I mean, we've tried not to say one gender, perpetuates domestic violence more than one gender. But if we remove physical violence from it,
Yeah.
I strongly believe that women perpetrate more domestic violence than men. If you remove the physical aspect from it, from emotional to financial to sexual, I strongly believe that, because usually what people see is the reaction, the physical reaction
Shay,
to
you
something.
believe it doesn't mean it's true.
Well, I feel that's why most times when I talk, I say I feel. I don't think it's a general thing. So I feel like most men is the reaction to the emotional and emotional abuse that they've gone through that results in the physical. I feel, and that is not to take it away from men that are emotionally weak and their first form of reaction is violence because they can afford to, physically suppress the other person.
Okay, so I try as much as possible to run from this gender thing. You know why I say that? I think I'm a bit open. I'm too open-minded for certain conversations. So I try as much as possible not to make it a gender thing because for some reason, I feel that in every relationship, as the man they give, the woman they give as well. Both people they give, you understand, but in different proportions, because I'll go back to what Sir Joe said again, that in the Bible, the man is supposed to be a king and supposed to be worshipped, and the woman is supposed to serve. There was a very wonderful explanation for that part, that story I gave, where I said the woman went to war, came back by 7. It's even in the Bible. You understand? Is it not in the Bible as well, where they say that women are more emotional? So when you do things to them, they go into their closet and they narrate. Sir Joe said something that naturally, women are supposed to are supposed to say 15,000 words in a day, and men are supposed to just say 1,000.
Me?
Sorry? You said it yesterday, I'll be on Wednesday. It did my head. So now taking it back to
I'm beginning to think it should actually be 15 million.
based on that, your statistics, will she be talking to wall? She will gather her friends and tell her friends. She will gather market women and tell them, because it's just that's how it is in the Bible. You understand? So people are wired in a certain way. So women are wired in a certain way, and men are wired in a certain way. So if the explanation of men being kings and women go and hunt and bring to them, I'm sure there's a wonderful explanation for women emotional, holding sex and getting angry and getting emotional. It's in the Bible. So which is why I say that it's balanced. When man do his own, woman do his own. People just have different reactions to these things. Which is why I also go back to say that I think it's a 50-50 thing. Because there are some things, and guess what? When it comes to domestic violence, what is violence to you, Sheyi, might not be violence to me. And there are some women that quarrel not reach knacking. And as it not reach knacking, it not reach to go collect money from your husband. But guess what? You go knack with the man conversation with the quarrel. Do you understand? So I think it's balanced. Everybody get their pattern for their marriage. Because it not get any marriage when only the woman they do, the man no they do, not lie. Everybody they do it
That's their
own.
own.
Yes, everybody they do it own. What we just see are the people that now come overboard. And guess what, Sir Joe, even you as a lawyer, you know that when they don't judge matter finish. When they come to you, you go find out, say, now two people, you understand, then get the problem. Because even if one person is reacting, you decide to be a matured person and you overlook and everything, and not go quarrel. Abi? Exactly. So, Shay, back to what you were talking about. It's 50-50. It's not just, women are not just, it's, I hope I've been able to convince you that.
No, you have not.
You're
I'm
just
not
being
confused
biased.
you.
But I for peace sake.
That's what men should do.
For
Yes.
peace sake.
As a man, as a lion. For peace sake. Sajo, you were saying something.
I am struggling to hear Shay. I don't know if it's his mic, but I'm not able to hear anything he says.
I've been silenced, Sajo. They've off the mic. So just in typical women fashion, they don't off mic for my mouth.
Oh my God. This is
We are going to declare state of emergency very soon.
this
in
is
this
studio
program.
violence. This is studio violence.
Against men.
State of
Against
emergency.
men.
No, but Sajo, as a family lawyer, let's break it down. As much as we know that this thing, because I think it's a serious problem that needs to be tackled, I don't want to make it, I run from making it a gender thing. Why I say that is, not be everything we hear. I think everybody just has, there are different levels of threshold of what they can take and what they can't take. But because we are humans and we expect people to manage or do this and do that, we now begin to make explanation or give our own definition of what somebody else is going through. Do you understand? Sajo, honestly, domestic violence, do you think people just come out, just intentionally come out to, you understand, outdo that other person or get upset with that person, or the person is triggered, you understand, about something? Is it, sorry?
Now, first and foremost, you see, I do not think any human being should excuse domestic violence. Once your relationship gets into any violent form, you should immediately disengage, irrespective of what you feel for the person. Now, that said, I agree with you, it's not gender restrictive. Yes, either of the gender could actually be the aggressor or the abuser. However, if you compartmentalize domestic violence into forms of abuses, we discover that some, like the physical abuse, may be more of a husband thing, not like that, no female abusers, physical abusers. The financial abuse could be that of more of the women. The emotional and psychological abuse could be 50-50. If we look at it from that perspective, it's easier for me to agree with you that it's 50-50.
Okay.
However, if we are dealing with specific form of abuse, there are subgenders who are masters of that form of abuse.
So
It's
let's
like
just
saying
make it
to me,
general.
it's like saying to us that, we have more female physical abusers in marriage. I'll completely disagree with you. However, the things that would lead to, now this is not trying to justify or excuse the act of abuse. The things that could lead to physical abuse may have been triggered
From emotional.
by the verbal assaults of the female.
Exactly what I said.
Now, you have the capacity of 1,000 words in 1 minute, and your spouse does not even have the capacity of 100. So he's not able to respond to you, and because he's mentally weak, and I dare say stupid, he reacts with his fists just to shut you up so that you can be even. If I were in your shoes as a woman, I won't engage. I will never put myself in a position where you would physically abuse me. And that is also doable. There's also, from my interaction with clients, there's also an aspect that is even psychological. That some women feel that if they're not physically abused, they cannot be certain that you love them. That they relate physical abuse to extent of love. Now, that could come from someone who has been in very dysfunctional relationship over time, where she has been abused over time. Now she's meeting someone who does not think that abuse is right, physical abuse is right, and they're engaging in discussions, quarrels, and tempers are rising, and the man picks his car key and say, you know what, I want to take a ride or I want to take a walk. And she grabs him and say, you're not going anywhere. We'll die here together today. Madam Franca,
I'm listening.
there's this old song of, I think it was Victor Wifo, that said, if you beat me so every day, like a this, like a that, no palaba, beating me, darling. You know, there are actually women like that who are in their best elements when they are physically assaulted. Those are exceptional.
Yes, I've heard that story before.
Yeah, those are exceptional cases which I think they need to urgently visit a therapist to cure them from.
Okay.
But in all, what I will always say to anybody that walks into my office and says there's physical abuse of any sort, particularly with the recurrent spousal murders that is going on around us in the country now, no matter how little or how significant that abuse is, I'll tell you to create space first. Stay apart for a while and have the opportunity to evaluate the mind of your spouse to know whether you were the one that actually provoked him beyond his control. Because we also are humans. There's only how far you can go. As gentle as Frank has seen, there are things you will do to her that will require her to slap you, irrespective of how she wants to comport or control herself. So you know those triggers. Do not push those buttons. And if you see that it is you who pushed the button, then you can have that conversation and say, okay, you know what? It was because I did X, Y, Z that you did this. So I will not do this again so that we cannot get to this point. However, you cannot have that conversation while you're still sitting together in the same house. Mm-hmm. Create that space, get someone involved, call a party in, let the person help your mind a bit to engage in discussions where you can find the best way out of the imbroglio.
Okay. Precious.
Yeah.
I want you to, tell us situations that have been really complicated when it comes to domestic violence that, even you were in shock.
In fact, there are so many. So I would first of all give the one that involved the abuser was the wife, and the person being abused is the man, the husband. So they would have an argument, regular couples arguing. And the next thing, he would be receiving calls from her family members saying, oh, this is how you spoke to our sister today. Look, in our house, we don't talk to our women like this. Blah, 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 blah. And the man would be like, I don't even, he will be confused. I don't know what's going on. What are you talking about? And I'm like, don't worry. This one. And that was how it escalated until when it became physical abuse. The first day I beat him up, he was shocked. Like, he was just looking at her while she was doing the beating. Like, is this for real? And what shocked him the most, even when I heard it, that was one that shocked me, was she actually said, yes, she was beating him and he didn't, like, beat her back. But she went ahead to tell her family members, and they all came to the house to beat up the man again, telling him that the next time he gets into a fight with their sister. And the man is like, I didn't get into a fight with her. She got into a fight with me and beat me. And I didn't raise a finger to touch her. And they say, yes, he provoked her. And they did this for a couple of years until the woman had to go to therapy to understand the reason why she was always being triggered. Something was triggering her. What is it? And so it was discovered what was triggering her. Something that happened between her and the man that she had not forgiven him. And every time they had an argument, that's all she could see playing in her mind's eye. So that's one example. I've seen physical abuse.
Precious, sorry. So are they still together?
Oh, yes, they are still together. Funny enough, they are still together.
Oh, wow.
And as therapists, we can't tell people what to do. We just say,
Pressure, I said the man is a good man. She said, Mumu. I don't understand this guy.
I don't understand. But you say someone should the wife is taking care of him now, just that she's beating him.
Sir Joe, do you think the guy is a mumu as well?
He wants to keep his home now.
No, he's in love. And you know what they say, fools fall in love.
You said mumu, Sir Joe says a fool. But Sir Joe,
yes.
Is that not the same thing?
I didn't say it's a fool. I said he's in love.
And then fools fall in love. Sergio, but is that not what women
what you said.
So yeah. Is that not women? Is that not what they ask women to do when they have abusive husbands?
I never support you to stay when you have an abusive husband.
But they don't have it anymore.
Who are the people asking women to do that?
I will never be in support of anybody staying when somebody is physically
abusing. But now they've sorted it out. It was a trigger.
God bless them and their home.
Precious, but are you sure that they are good?
Well, so far we haven't heard any.
Until she gets triggered.
Any violent updates.
Wipe palm cord for.
Or the man has learned not to complain anymore.
Maybe.
She feel don't threaten herself. Say so. You had the audacity.
Go see that therapist.
Exactly.
I go wipe you kubuku for it.
If you go out again, if you tell anybody again, I will declare state of emergency in this house for 6 months.
Sajo, yeah, the worst. Okay, Pressure, please share your second story. I can't deal with this man. No, I can't.
So the second one is, in fact, as a therapist, unfortunately, I had to end the session. We had to come to an end of that particular session because it was a never-ending circle of you are being abused, you come for therapy, and so the man was in denial. He was the one abusing they're not even a married couple, abusing the girlfriend. And the girlfriend she was so terrified to even speak out. So nobody knew she was being abused. And he had money. So when he abuses her, he wire her $500,000, 1 million. He would tell her, invite your friends, you people should go out, have fun. And so he was presenting this picture-perfect boyfriend, the Odogu, their types, and all of that. And I only got to find out because a close friend of hers happens to know me. And the lady had been telling me that, look, this thing, she knows her bestie is going through something. And that she would like me to be involved. And I said, okay, that's fine. And so the last time, the next time it happened, she called me and said, look, this thing is happening. And that was at about 11 p.m. or 11:30 at night. And I said, okay, just make sure your bestie is safe. Take her out of the abuse going on. And she said, that's the problem. This one, they were even present when the man went off on the girlfriend. And they kept telling the girl, let's go. At least let him calm down. We are not saying we are taking you away from him forever. But just leave. Before they break the bottle for your head. Leave. and then you can come back tomorrow. And she insisted and said she's not going anywhere. And so they now called me, and I had to drive all the way to where this boyfriend and girlfriend lives. And I got there and I was like, what's going on? And nobody wanted to talk. And I called the person who called me. I said, look, okay, you called me over. What actually do you want me to do? Because the girl is not talking, the man is not talking. The girl was shaking head to toe. You know when someone is vibrating in fear, like I'm dead today, if these people live here. Okay, but yeah, go with us. No. So what I did was, I told the person.
I think Precious is gone. Is Precious still here? I think network. Her network is. I think she's having network issues. Okay, so Shay, I don't know this whole thing, but you are not a professional in that professional space. Have you encountered a form of domestic violence that you've had to intervene, and how did it turn out?
I've seen domestic violence a couple of times. There was a time that me and my friend, we used to stay together, right? And he was a very naughty guy, you know. But then again, he also had a very violent girlfriend. So it was a combination of anytime he does something that is wrong, instead of them to talk about it or, you know, solve it, she goes violent about it. There was a particular one where she started taking out all the certificates, girlfriend and boyfriend. She broke bottle in the house. You know, I think trashed all his jewelry. Then, normally I don't even like to interfere. Then she started taking out his certificates to go and burn them. That's when I lost it. So even though they were boyfriend and girlfriend, usually I don't get involved. I had to step in and throw her out of the house and tell like security to come and get her out, because he was not doing anything about it, you know, because he felt like me, I don't fuck up. So that kind of gives her the right to
tear his certificate and burn his certificate.
To overreact, in quotes, which is why we were saying earlier that sometimes when abuse is going on, the person that is abused does not even know.
Are they married now?
Of course, they never married. Or doesn't even know that he or she is being abused.
So we're out of time. We have just 1 minute, you know, and I don't think Precious is coming back. Sergio, you want something to say before we round up? Everybody goes out for the weekend.
Just a parting word
Okay.
or advice. If you are ever faced with any form of violence, leave before you join the statistics, because it takes just one trigger to end a life.
True.
What you think you have endured over time may just be the last time you would have opportunity to run. So whenever you have the opportunity to run from any violent relationship, whether marriage or pre-marriage relationship, the ones that engage in sins, run as fast as you can once there's any form of violence. And Frank, I was going to say to you that we have an opening, one space for pro bono matter.
Sergio,
if you have anybody.
Oh, okay.
Sergio,
I'll call you.
I have a question too. So how do you mediate, or how do you remedy cases of domestic violence? Like,
so we're going. We would have to discuss. They're already, telling us we have to go. Okay, so we just heard Sergio say we have a space for pro bono, one pro bono cases for the quarter. So please send an email to us on counsel@vedaconsult.com if you know you have an issue and you want a very good lawyer to deal with it. So we have one slot for the pro bono cases, please. So send an email to us, counsel@vedaconsult.com. We don't have time. Sheyi has a lot to say, but we don't have much time. We need to go. So Sheyi, will continue your conversation on Monday. You're on air on Monday, so you take it up. We'll call Sergio. Bye. See you guys next week. Bye.